Peace to you all. Of course, peace is the universal greeting of the righteous. And this is another session of Drayon's empowerment, enlightenment, and motivation. To continue, I just gave the session pertaining to Christ's ascension. That was the last session. And this is, to continue some of that before I go into this session. I would like to say, when I was speaking about the ascension of Christ into the sun being a gate to Krypton, an entrance to Krypton and Kryptonian. I don't want scientists or any people or anybody that goes inside of rocket ships or anybody like that has all of that technology to try this, because I know you have your intelligence, you have your sciences and stuff like that, and science is important. I believe that science proves the validity and validates the existence of God. If it's seen properly. But don't use a rocket ship. Don't use anything like that, because the sun, you can't fly any technology or any type of aircraft into the sun. Of course, I just want to say that. It's divine. What I was speaking about was divine phenomena. Spiritual, godly, divine phenomena, in which God can only do. Only God can open the gate. Only God can open the entrance to Kryptonium or heaven. Not a rocket ship can go into it. Those things would be, of course, eradicated. So that wouldn't be intelligent to do. All right? So I wanted to speak on those things, because I know I'm speaking to people of all languages, in every country, all over the world, including the country that I'm in, which is America. And I know these things are very enlightening and very powerful. And I know you can even find the sources and find some sources of that's books and histories that can validate the things that I'm speaking on. All right? So, God protects Kryptonium and Krypton and Kryptonium in heaven from being invaded. So that's why the sun is also that way. All of that heat and fire of the sun makes sure that nothing can go into it that's not supposed to go into it. So it has to be divine and spiritual and godly phenomena in which God can only do. That only God can make happen. Okay? To go into some other matters, I wanted to speak on some things pertaining to the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, the first palace destruction. When the palace and the destruction was destroyed, when the palace or the temple of Solomon was destroyed in ancient Israel, and there was another destruction of the temple, and at these times there was a Judaic and Israelite and Jewish diaspora, into all of the world and etc. But listen to how important this was in heaven. There was a discussion that the God Jehovah in the Shekinah or Asherah had. And it wasn't just a discussion, it was an argument about a destruction of the palace temple, of the temple in Jerusalem, which was the palace of Solomon, the temple of Solomon. And the Shekinah said, why are you allowing this to happen when our children, when our kids from our holy marriage, Jehovah, Montezuma, Jehovah, Esau, are in Israel and in Jerusalem? And people would say, how would their children be there? Well, inside of the 12 tribes of Israel, the tribe that the children of the God Jehovah and Asherah, or the Shekinah, are a part of, or gets into inside of Israel, is the tribe of Ephraim, or the tribe of Ephraim. And there's also an Arabian tribe that they get into, and that they are a part of. And also sometimes in different parts and among different peoples and etc., getting inside of a body and etc., being in the world. But the Shekinah or Asherah, the mother of these children, of these kids, said our children are going to go into exile. Our children are going to go into diaspora, in captivity and etc. So the Shekinah or Asherah, as well as the God Jehovah, have been working a work on earth. And the Shekinah has been a part of her children also being delivered, being that the Shekinah is also over the children of Israel. And the very children of Jehovah and the Shekinah being in Israel and being inside of the Arabian tribes. So people will say, what are they originally? Now, I want some very good historians to go into some of these things to prove that some of these things can actually be found to be relevant and true. They were considered to be a Sicilian and a Jew type of people that come from parents that have always existed. I'm not going to delve deeply into that and go very profoundly and deeply into that. I remember, all I'm going to say is that, remember when I told you that when the God Jehovah or Montezuma or Esau, started speaking to his wife, the language he was speaking in was Italian Latin. And they always existed. And she understood some of that, and then the language he spoke to her, and he continued to speak in, or he also began to speak in, was Hebrew, which Jews and Israelis speak. And she understood all of that. It is said that Jehovah, the God Jehovah, and I want some historians to back me up on this when they start asking questions about all of this stuff, is an ancient, old, always existing Sicilian God that always existed, even before other Italians and Sicilians came into existence. But is considered to be the Most High. Also being some type of Arab that always existed. The Shekinah or Asherah being a Jew or Israeli that always existed. So this is very deep and powerful matters. You can find these things in very archaic and very remote and ancient records. And it will pan out and prove to be true. So it's very powerful. So the children of God were in different parts and in various parts of the world. And the children of Israel being also called the people of God and the children of God. And the Arab people being a chosen and a blessed and a holy people, like the children of Israel. But all of this was to work a particular deliverance and empowerment of God's redemption for his people. And for all of humanity and all of existence. And for all of the blessed animal children he has. All of the children that are people and all of the animal children he has, so that people can be redeemed. But she said, why would you allow the palace or the temple to be destroyed? He said, there's some things that Israel at this particular time isn't seeing how it does things. There's some things they're not seeing that they're supposed to see. There's some things that they're not doing that they're supposed to do. So he allowed it to happen. Didn't necessarily impose it or will for it to happen, but knew that it would happen and allowed it. And then he said there, it also represents and is connotative to a war that happened in Krypton, in Kryptonium, with God and Satan. And the God Jehovah battled it out with Satan, and there was a war, and even the angelic beings were at it, and so forth and so on. And the evil were cast out, and Jehovah prevailed. But it continued on earth. Until this particular time. And the new world is about to manifest itself. The new heavens and a new earth. New heavens as in a new sky and a new earth and pertaining to earth. This particular universal territory. So the renewal of things is going to happen. Because this time has been an apocalyptic time we're living in, or is an apocalyptic time. The four signs of the apocalypse is destruction, death, pestilence, and war with God. A spiritual war of evil against God, in which God prevails, and the people of humanity and the people of existence for the most part are saved and redeemed, and they start to come back into the light of the enlightenment of a knowledge age and an information age of intelligence and power and redemption, and they are raised back into an anointed state of being a blessed and prosperous people and earth. So this is very profound. All of the wars and stuff like that that have been happening, this hasn't just been a war with it has been a war that has involved countries. But this is, believe it or not, the inner meanings and the hidden purposes of these wars. These have been spiritual wars. These have been godly wars, and this has been a war between good and evil that has been going on for thousands of years. We're in the final stage of it, in which peace should be reestablished and godliness should be reestablished. The temple and the palace reestablished, and the order and the law and the ordinance of God reestablished in this earth, and shall pervade all throughout this earth and throughout the universe. And from Krypton, the rule and the order of Jehovah, with his wife Asherah and his wife Astarte, shall go forth. But Jehovah shall be ruling and over all things, presiding on his throne, according to the apocalyptic book, the book of Revelations. So it has been a very serious time. But this war hasn't just been a war of physical. It's been a war of physicality. It has been a spiritual war. It has been a war of beliefs and ideologies, and a physical war as well. Globally, nationally, internationally, for thousands of years. That's how sacred and powerful holy and secret knowledge is. It is the life of existence. The sacred scripture, the holy knowledge, the secret knowledge, the hidden teachings. And it permeates the universe. And in all things, because of the law and the ordinance and the divine utterance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the divine utterance of the God Jehovah, all things are set in ordinance forever. So those are some things I want you to be mindful of. Just really quick, this has been another session of Drayon's Empowerment, Enlightenment, and Motivation. Peace to you all.